Hi guys, this is Consumer Decisions Part 2, and this is Lesson 1, and that is, can you afford the rent? I see a little typo here. When you're moving out on your own, an important question is, can you afford the rent? Because obviously, if you can't afford the rent, you probably shouldn't be moving out. So there's two ways to determine this. One way is that no more than 1 week of gross pay on rent for the month should be used for rent, which really works out to about a quarter of your income. And that's if you are paid on an hourly basis. The second rule is no more than 23% of your annual income, that's how much you make for the entire year, is should be spent on rent. And that would be more if you are given a salary for the entire year kind of thing. So when you're starting out and you're likely just making by the hour, you should follow the first rule here, but we're going to look at both. Okay, so before we talk about that, we should probably talk a little about what gross pay is, pay made before deductions. And what are deductions, you might ask? Those are amounts that are subtracted from your paycheck. We're going to talk more about that later, maybe either this year or future years, but certainly you'll learn more about that. And the number one deduction that there is taxes. Taxes to the federal government, the government of Canada, taxes to the provincial government. There's many other deductions as well, depending on your situation. So gross pay is just sort of like the starting point before they start taking off those deductions. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump right into a example here. We have a person here. His name is Hunter. He's moving out of his parents' basement. They're happy to get rid of him, I'm sure. He's working at Co-op Gas Bar. He's making $11.65 an hour, which is our current minimum wage here in spring of 2020. He generally gets 40 hours a week. What monthly rent can he afford to look at for paying? So in other words, when he's looking for an apartment, this is the amount that he really can't go over when it comes to rent. So it's a pretty straightforward question here. We're just going to take that 40 hours multiplied by 11.65. Get out your calculator. 40 times 11.65 is $466. So that's how much he makes in a week, but he really shouldn't be spending more than that on rent. Why is that? Because he has other things to pay for. Food would be number two, and various other items too, like electricity, maybe his phone, maybe he has a car, he's got to put gas in it, that kind of stuff. Generally, if he can keep his other expenses down, he might be able to afford maybe $500 or $600 a month, but money would be tight at that rate there. So he might be better off if he found himself a roommate, and then he could, if his roommate was working the same, they could spend up to about $900. That's a much more reasonable figure to be spending on rent. Let's move to example number 2 here. This is a salary example. Shani's got a job earning $35,000 per year as an early childhood educator. I looked that up. It was just under $34,000. Sorry, just under $35,000 was the salary that was advertised. And you would need some post-secondary training, probably from ACC, to get a job like this. So what can she afford to pay for monthly rent in Brandon? So what you do is you take that 35,000 multiplied by 23%. We're going to take that 23% rule. We're going to convert 23% to 0.23. You should be able to do that in your head by now. 35,000 times 0.23 is 8,050, but that's for the whole year. So now this is a two-step. It's like a country song. You got to take the 8,050. You got to divide by 12 to get the monthly payments. So she could afford about $670.83 for rent. Now in Brandon, you are not going to find a very big place. Certainly, you have to look at an older place. You certainly wouldn't find a brand new, beautiful 3-bedroom apartment for $670. My son was in Brandon for a year in an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom. He had a roommate, and they were looking at, I think it was about $1,100. So about double that kind of thing. So Shanice will need a roommate as well, likely, or have to work somewhere else as well to make a few more dollars, or cut back on her other expenses. Okay. But that's where we're at with that one. Okay, so let's look at another example here. Here we have a couple, Jared and Melanie, looking at a home to rent. The rent is $975 per month. Jared makes $12.50 an hour, works 40 hours a week. Melanie makes $28,000 per year. Can they afford the home? So this is a two-parter. So we're going to take our 1250 times the 40 that Jared is making. He makes $500 a week. He only makes $28,000 per year. We're going to take that 28,000. We're going to multiply by 0.23. And she can afford $64.40, but that's per year. So we're going to take that. We're going to divide by 12. She can contribute $536. She makes a little bit more, $66,666. So we're going to take that to 67. We're going to add those together. So they can afford $1,036.67. Okay. In Brandon, you can get a pretty nice 2-bedroom apartment for that kind of rent. They might have to look at maybe a little bit more part-time job or cut back on their other expenses again. But you can do pretty well for that kind of rent. Okay, so that's the lesson here. You can go ahead and do the assignment that goes with this. Please remember to read the instructions carefully because some of them are the 23% rule and some are the hourly rule. And when you are entering your answer, you must include a $ sign and you must round to the nearest number of cents as well. So thank you.